Hello and welcome to another Parry's Pickups. On this week's episode we have mostly Xbox One games, but we'll start with a PSP game. It's been a while since I bought a PSP game. It was only when I was asked out at Horston's with a good friend and fellow podcaster Matt Boyle that he found this little gem for me, and that is Micro Machines V4. Now, this is a game I've previously experienced with on the PlayStation 2 and really liked it there, just like the other Micro Machine game on PS2, which is called Micro Machines. This one's a little different than that one, but they're kind of similar. Very solid Micro Machines title, continuing where Micro Machines V3 left off with the isometric 3D thing going on. It's got weapons, which is a little bit different than that, so that's great. So how does the PSP version compare to the PS2 version? Pretty much the same from what I remember. Very challenging game. I don't remember it being quite as challenging as it is right here, but I think I might have only played it in multiplayer, so that would explain that. But, you know, great variety of tracks, great ideas, great gameplay, of course. That's the main thing you've got to get right with a Micro Machines game. It's made by Supersonic. These are developers of the original Micro Machines, so it's a bit of a treat. Great to have a handheld version of this game. A little story about this particular game, which picked up second-hand. It cost me about 60 Danish kroner. And unfortunately, the UMD was in a not so great state. It had some scuffs and marks on it, which, oh dear. But also, the biggest problem was the plastic cover. It had come apart at one point and been sellotaped up at the top. I think that was fine, but it's that little window on the front, the clear window on the front of the UMD. It does also come loose, so that was, I think, preventing the disc inside from spinning when you put it in the PSP. So it really wasn't working properly at first at all. Eventually, I got it working by holding the back of the PSP in, pushing it, putting some pressure on it as I was playing, which, it's not really the way you want to play a game. Other problems with the music would cut out. I maybe had played the game, but the music wasn't there, or it would just randomly go to the menu as if I was quitting the game. Would you like to quit the game? If you press the PlayStation button, it would just hit to that, like it just, it didn't work properly. So what I did was I fiddled around with it a little bit, and I managed to. I took it apart. I actually cleaned the disc inside, just with a little glasses lens cloth, and then was able to take the transparent window and just sort of make that so it wasn't against sit it inside the casing neatly, so it wasn't hitting the disc inside, and it worked. Which was a relief, actually. It was a bit of a pain to have to go and do that, but I imagine that is a problem with second-hand PSP games. I've bought a few second-hand PSP games over the years, not had this much of an issue with them before. So it was a bit of a pain, but I got through it in the end. The game's running okay now. I did have one issue where it tried to quit out on me, but otherwise I was able just to play it straight out. So that's Micro Machines V4. This is an American copy, as you see, but of course the PSP is region-free, which is wonderful. So I'd recommend this game if you're a fan of Micro Machines and you've got a PSP. Really solid, good fun game, but incredibly challenging. Next game up, I'll talk about NHL 15. Okay, so I haven't got a hockey game for the Xbox One, and I saw this at 19 kroners, a couple of pounds, brand new, in the local GameStop. I thought, well, okay, let's give this one a go. It's cheap enough. If I don't like it so much, then I've not a huge loss. This is one of the most fun times I've had with a hockey game. You can play it from the off with arcade-style controls, and that's what I went for. And I really like that. It's very accessible, very fun, really great. Everything you want a hockey game to be, and you could jump right in there and just have fun with it. So, really happy with this for 19 kroner. I can add that to my Xbox One sports collection, I suppose. So, great game. Nice presentation as well. Next up, we have a game I was just playing this morning. so it's pretty fresh in my mind. This is One Piece Burning Blood. This is a fighting game. Yes, I love fighting games, and yeah, I haven't been following the One Piece games particularly because I would only be interested if there was a fighter, and this is a fighter. The last One Piece game I really played and properly got into was one of the ones on the PS2, one of the Power Stone like arena-based fighters, which was quite fun. This sort of takes Naruto Ultimate Ninja style stance on it, where you're behind the character, you're facing. It's like Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi, but it's got quite simple, easy to pick up controls. You have your regular attacks, your jumps, your blocks, and your unique attacks, and you can do different variations on unique attack, different special moves by holding down L2. I did not notice any need to have a full special bar to use the special attacks. So I just guess you don't use them so much because they take longer to activate. So if you just want to lay into the opponent, you just better with the regular attacks. You can dodge with the block button. You can do what's called a quick block or something like that by just tapping the B button before an attack hits you. If you push the stick forward as you do a regular attack, you do a ranged attack. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the controls for the game, and it's got beautiful graphics. One thing I really like about One Piece, I'm not so familiar with the series actually, but I really like the character designs in One Piece, and this is full of amazing characters. So that's a great thing. It reminded me a lot of the Dragon Ball Z Budokai games in that respect. You've got a storyline that you can play through, and you can select a bunch of characters, but some are locked at the start, so you earn money through playing the main game, and then you can spend money to unlock characters that you want. You can also spend that money to unlock support characters too, in a similar way to the last Dragon Ball Z Budokai game on the 3DS actually. So it's got all those staples of an anime fighting game, which is kind of nice. I kind of like that kind of thing. So you kind of know what you're getting. This is pretty straightforward, enjoyable, but there doesn't seem to be a heck of a lot of depth to it. I didn't feel like I was really being able to pull out any strategy, to be honest. So it's beautiful to look at though, really nice, and probably worth I'd say it's worth what I paid for it, which was about 129 krona. So that's about just under £15, I think. I don't think that's bad for this game. It's solid, and there's quite a lot to enjoy about it. There is, if you're wondering, more than just a story mode, because if you start the game, you're only presented with the story mode, which you might not be so interesting if you just want to fight, because you have cutscenes, you have a storyline going on. And if you're not familiar with One Piece, then I doubt that has the same sort of, it didn't for me at least, the same impact as it would if you were a fan of the show. But you can, once you've done several missions on that, or maybe just one, I'm not sure, I played through a few before I went back out to the main menu, where I was able to access more like an arcade mode. It's more like a challenge mode actually. You have Wanted, it's called Wanted something, Wanted Challenges, something like that, and you can select different fights that you can do with different difficulty levels, and that will enable you to fight in different arenas, because when you go in story mode, I was a little bit concerned because you were always fighting in the same place, and I was hoping that the game just didn't have one arena to fight in. It does have quite a few, and you can experience them in some of the other modes. But happy with this game. Bright, colourful, fun, rather straightforward fighting game. And lastly, we're going to talk a little about a game that I started playing yesterday, and that game is Yooka-Laylee. So, to give you the background on this, I'm a huge fan of Banjo-Kazooie. It's probably my favourite game of all time. Yet I did not back this game on Kickstarter, which seems like madness. I know. I'd seen some footage of it. I wasn't impressed with the main characters. I didn't think they have that cool factor. And to me, the gameplay looked almost identical to Banjo-Kazooie, which, strange enough, I wasn't such a fan of. I thought, well, if this isn't improving or changing, innovating that template, then is it really worth playing? But I changed my mind over time. It was too late to join the Kickstarter, but I'd made up my mind I wanted to get the game on release. The more I saw of it, the more interested I became. And I have to say, I'm not disappointed in Yooka-Laylee. It does stick to its roots very closely. It mixes up a couple of things, but they're not huge changes to the Banjo-Kazooie template. But it's great to play a game like this again. The feeling of fun you get from this game, it's bright and it's colourful and it's got tons of humour and it's collecting things, which I do like in video games. It's really amazing that they've made and recreated that classic 3D open world platformer thing, and I think it's maybe partly because a game like this hasn't been done for a very long time. Platform games moved away from this formula quite some time ago, and I was still a fan of it. I could have soaked up more games like that. So it's great to finally have one again. And Yooka-Laylee now is like nothing else out there because it's a throwback type game, and I'm all for it. A couple of minor criticisms of the game is the camera's not so good. It isn't very smooth at following the characters. You know, cameras have been done better in other games. So as well as maintaining some of those nostalgic gameplay ideas, it also retains the not so nostalgic camera trouble that you used to get in old 3D platformers. It's not enough to really impact on the gameplay and be endlessly frustrating. There are games which had worse cameras. For example, Gex 64 didn't have a great camera, and you need a lot of manual control over it. But I still enjoyed that game despite having a dodgy camera. So that doesn't ruin the game at all for me, and it's a lot better than some other games out there in that respect. One thing I think I would have preferred was dialogue, you know, acted dialogue in English, as opposed to the noises that the characters make. I know that is a throwback to Banjo-Kazooie, but I feel like now it would make more sense to do full voice acting in a game like this. It would definitely help give the characters more personality than they have at present. Also, if they animated a bit more where they were talking, because I don't think they move their mouths and they don't have a lot of animation in the cutscenes. And just like another game I played recently, Mighty No. 9, I found that a little bit of an issue because it sucks a bit of the life out of the game. This game has loads of life when you're playing the main game and you're doing the moves, but when you're interacting with the characters and talking, everything's a little bit stale. The dialogue isn't. The dialogue's great, but maybe voice acting would have added another layer to this game. These two are minor gripes, and overall, I really like Yooka-Laylee, and it was a game that I was struggling to put down when I started playing, which is a great sign. I'm really excited to get back in that colourful world and have fun with these characters. So I would recommend it. It's a little bit cheaper than a lot of games out at the moment, and it's a big game too. I'm a little bit concerned about the fact it's a big game because I didn't like that about Banjo-Tooie. I felt that was a little bit too big. I like the smaller areas that you really got to know in Banjo-Kazooie. When it gets so big, it may be difficult to find your next challenge, your next objective, and I found in Banjo-Tooie I sometimes got a little bit lost. So I'm not sure how that's going to pan out in this game, but the flow of it so far has been rather good, so let's hope that keeps up. And that's basically it for this week. Thank you for checking out this latest episode of Parry's Pickups. Really appreciate it. If you've got any comments, just pop them in the little box below and I'll try and get back to you. And yeah, until next time, game on. Bye for now.